Good afternoon, it's Wednesday, September 30. I'm Herman Green with your midday news. A special welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. An audit has revealed that despite an increase in enrollment to programs offered by the HEART National Training Agency, the number of trainees being certified has remained low. The Auditor General's Performance Audit Report, tabled in the House of Representatives yesterday, showed that during the period 2014 to 15 and 2018 to 19, HEART's certification remained below 50%. Prince Moore has the details.
The Auditor General's analysis of enrollment data showed that for training programs, HEART certified less than half the number of trainees despite a reduction in the dropout rate. Of the 232,301 trainees, only 103,452 were certified. This reflected an average certification rate of 45% as at June 10 this year. And the Auditor General found that given the low certification rate, HEART would not have yielded maximum value from training expenditure of $30.5 billion to deliver skills training programs. The Auditor General says HEART acknowledged that failed assessments, dropouts and absenteeism contributed to the low certification rate relative to enrollment. The training agency also identified socioeconomic conditions such as financial and social challenges faced by trainees as being among the root causes for dropouts and absenteeism. The audit also revealed that HEART also yielded low certification results and little or no entrepreneurial and employment benefits from $8.3 billion disbursed to external training providers. The Auditor General says the less than desirable outcome demonstrated that the practice of using multiple programs with similar content did not reflect a comprehensive approach towards targeting at-risk youths.
The House of Representatives yesterday opened debate on proposed amendments to the Dogs Liabilities for Attacks Act. The bill repeals the Dogs Liability for Injuries Act, which was passed in 1877 and introduces criminal liability for persons whose dogs attack or injure individuals because of negligence. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck, who opened the debate, said the amendments are meant to encourage persons to manage and control their dogs.
This bill is not intended to frighten or penalize dog owners. It is meant to increase the awareness of dog owners of the importance of keeping and caring of their dogs under their control. There have been, over the years, Madam Speaker, too many cases of debilitating injury and death caused by attacking dogs. The harrowing ordeal endured by the most recent victims up in Stonehill area, all over, Madam Speaker, has made the issue impatient of a resolution.
He says this new bill will have more teeth, providing for victims of dog attacks to be compensated.
That law provides civil remedy for victims of dog attacks. That means the owner has to be sued in order for the victim to be compensated. This bill, Madam Speaker, will introduce criminal liability in addition to the civil remedy that previously existed, so that whether the victim pursues a civil remedy or not, the owner may be prosecuted if any of the offenses set out in the bill have been committed.
The proposed changes in the law comes after a series of dog attacks last year. One attack left a teacher of the St. Richard's Primary School hospitalized for months. The teacher was attacked while jogging in Cooper's Hill in St. Andrew. And the Justice Minister also opened debate on the Authentication of Foreign Public Documents Act, also known as the Apostille Convention Act. Mr. Chuck said the bill will allow documents from Jamaicans to be readily accepted overseas.
For example, persons in other countries do not recognize, they might not appreciate what our birth certificate, our marriage certificate, various documents. And once a person gets it legitimized by apostille certificate, the other countries accept them easily without the other countries having to go through, or the person having to go through a process of legalization.
He says public documents intended for use in a foreign country are required to be verified by a public authority.
This requirement comes from the fact that the recipient in the foreign country may not be familiar with the official the official capacity of the person signing it or the identity of the seal or stamp it bears. This need for verification gave rise to the process of legalization, which is ordinarily facilitated through embassies, consulates, high commissions, and foreign affairs ministries. However, Madam Speaker, a number of intermediary steps are oftentimes required, and this varies across different national systems. You can therefore appreciate the inconvenience experienced by foreigners seeking to have their documents verified in a foreign country.
He says if passed, this act will make it easier for Jamaicans to do business overseas. The island now has a total of 107 deaths from COVID-19. 6 new deaths were recorded in the last 24 hours. The latest victims are a 77-year-old male from St. Elizabeth, 2 females and a male from St. Catherine, with ages ranging from 52 to 59 years. 2 of those cases were previously under investigation, and 2 males from Kingston and St. Andrew also died from the respiratory illness. Their ages are 59 and 70 years. The ministry also listed 1 coincidental death, a 28-year-old male from St. Catherine. In the meantime, the country's coronavirus case count now stands at 6,482. 74 new cases of the coronavirus were recorded yesterday. A breakdown of the ministry's latest figures indicated that Kingston and St. Andrew and St. James recorded the most new cases. Kingston and St. Andrew recorded 34 new cases, and St. James had 30 cases. And we now take a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More news when we return. Welcome back, continuing the news. Police officers are reiterating their call for harsher penalties for persons who shoot or kill their colleagues. The call comes again from Chairman of the Police Federation, Sergeant Patray Rowe, who was speaking at a remembrance function in the St. Andrews South Police Division in honor of 2 fallen officers, Constable Kamal Foster, who died in a motorbike crash, and Constable Kemar Francis, who was killed during a shootout with criminals last Friday. In addition to harsher penalties, Sergeant Patray Rowe is adamant that officers will be resolute defending themselves from criminals.
You will be killed. There's just no 2 ways about it. At training school, we were never taught to shoot people in the hand and foot. You know, a gun is a weapon that is used to kill, and that's the only purpose. And once you point it at us, your intention is to kill us. And we will use superior training and superior knowledge in tactical and firearm use and handling to become victorious in that situation.
In spite of this, however, the officers believe the possibility of death is no longer a deterrent to criminals, and so are calling for legislative changes to make the difference.
Within this space are celebrated more in death than when they are living, and therefore they do not mind dying one bit. What I know they're afraid of is lengthy detention.
If I have anything to do with the legislation, I believe, and it's my conviction, that when you take the life or injure an agent of the state, it should be a mandatory life sentence. That's just it. And I hope the legislators are listening.
And the Jamaica Constabulary Force is reporting a significant reduction in the number of reported missing children this year. Deputy Superintendent of Police, Delia Garrick, says there have been fewer missing children reports this year in comparison to the same period in 2019.
Since the start of 2020, we have seen the continued decline in the amount of children reported missing. However, this year the number is significantly less, with over 400 less reported cases of children going missing. This amounts to over 30%, and it's welcome news, and we hope that the trend continues.
Despite the significant reduction, DSP Garrick is appealing to members of the public to come forward with information on children who are still missing.
So we are asking relatives to be cautious and just to always be able to account for the children that are in their care, the children are visiting, ensure that the requisite approval is given, and for the general public to just always be on the lookout for.
In the meantime, children's advocate Diane Gordon Harrison says unpleasant circumstances at home sometimes contribute to children running away.
Closed. Additionally as well, we have found that sometimes children leave home because of abusive circumstances and, the fear that they associate home with. What seems to have happened as well is that though we have a concern that abuse may increase, there are also those instances that with responsible adults within the home space, opportunities may sometimes, not be as open for a community member, for example, to come in and abuse a child. And so with that,
the children's advocate is urging parents to pay keen attention to their children in a bid to prevent suicides. Mrs. Gordon Harrison says mental illnesses associated with children are a major contributor in pushing minors to extreme actions.
Suicide is one of the most extreme manifestations of mental health issues and struggles that impact our children. And what we as parents and adults who really have a critical role in our children's lives have to do is that, first of all, we have to acknowledge that children have mental health stressors. They have emotions that they go through, and consequences, therefore, flow from what surrounds them.
Companies continue to battle with the theft of copper wires from their plants across the island. The latest case of theft of some wires led to the death of one man in Old Harbour Base in Catherine earlier this week. 47-year-old Errol Mackenzie was allegedly trying to steal copper wires from a JPS power plant when he met his demise. Media and Public Relations Manager at JPS, Audrey Williams, says this is not the first time persons have tried to steal copper from the power company. She says Mr. Mackenzie only met his demise because he mistakenly cut a live high-tension wire. Mr. Mackenzie's daughter recounted how she got the news of her father's death.
Somebody come and wake me and tell me, say them, yes, my father dead over the JPS. I get up 2 o'clock this morning. I don't go back to sleep or nothing. I was trying to find him when the police was passing with Morgan. He was in there, and we asked him to let me see him, and him said no.
In the meantime, a word of caution from Ms. Williams.
No, just to reinforce the point that it is extremely dangerous to tamper with any aspect of the electricity network, and so we really appeal to persons not to do so.
And it's time now for a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we'll look at allergies.
For allergic rhinitis, for example, you spend $3,000 a month on a nasal spray. You would spend $1,000 a month on antihistamines. So we're talking about the cumulative cost of spending money on these things to control your allergic reactions. So we're saying that is something that we have to contemplate as well.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. Avoid the things that trigger your allergies. Take your medicines as prescribed by your medical doctor. Wear a medical alert bracelet or necklace and know what to do during an allergic reaction.
We go down to news in sports. West Indies head coach Phil Simmons is already planning his team's approach as they prepare to return to action against New Zealand in just under 8 weeks' time. Cricket West Indies and New Zealand Cricket announced the proposed schedule for the bilateral series on Monday, pending approval from CWI's Medical Advisory Committee and Board of Directors. The tour will feature 3 T20 internationals and 2 test matches from November 27 to December 15. Simmons said the T20 internationals are a part of getting the guys playing together as much as possible leading up to the ICC T20 World Cup next year. The Windies, who defeated England to win the T20 World Cup final in 2016, will return to India in 11 months to defend that title. Now, the Test series in New Zealand forms part of the ICC World Test Championship. The West Indies earned their first points in the ICC World Test Championship when they won the opening test against England. The proposed West Indies tour to New Zealand will start with defending T20 World Cup champions facing the Black Caps at Eden Park in Auckland for a match under lights. And that's it for the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the Primetime Package. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production teams, good afternoon.